16th of December 1971, Prime Minister Indira paid an eloquent tribute to the valiant armed forces of India in a cheering parliament and announced, "Dhaka is the free capital of a free country." A new nation was born. Even the results of the general election were not respected. This was a breach of confidence as far as the Bengali people were concerned. The Sheikh made it clear that the people's verdict was known and that 75 million people could not be kept down. He gave a call for satyagraha and launched a no-tax campaign. This enraged the Pakistani military dictators, and they sent General Tikka Khan to Dhaka to discipline the Bengali people. Pakistan had one infantry division of 4 brigades deployed in the east. A further build-up was to continue till April to suppress the Bengalis. So, to gain time, General Yahya Khan pretended to negotiate. Mr. Bhutto was invited to join these talks at Dhaka. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman tried for a constitutional settlement, but the talks collapsed. As soon as General Yahya Khan reached Karachi from Dhaka on the 25th of March, the Pakistan Army commenced its operation to discipline the Bengali people. With no solution in sight, Sheikh Mujib took over the administration and proclaimed an independent Bangladesh. He was taken prisoner. The people of Bangladesh arose in fury and in anger. The East Pakistan Rifles, the East Bengal Regiment, and other paramilitary forces, along with thousands of civilian volunteers, flocked to the new standard. Thus was born the Mukti Fauj, the army of liberators, which later on was called the Mukti Bahini. Slowly they learnt the handling of arms. Once this was accomplished, they mastered the situation. They started sinking ships and struck Chittagong and Mangla harbors several times. By the 15th of November, these ports were closed. Then they commenced attacking inland water transport at Barisal, Khulna, Chandpur, Narayanganj, and Golando Ghat. By now, the Mukti Bahini had grown more proficient in weapons handling, fieldcraft, and guerrilla tactics. The Mukti Bahini's guerrilla activities in Dhaka and the other principal cities of Bangladesh drew worldwide attention. The frustrated Pakistani war machine tried to hoodwink the world with false propaganda. Their representative at the United Nations blamed India for trying to create a situation of famine and unrest in Bangladesh. But the fact was that Pakistan itself was creating such a situation. Millions of Bengalis fled from their homeland. A total of 10 million refugees sought sanctuary in India. This was a crushing burden on the Indian economy. I have come here in search of some wise impulse, which, as history tells us, sometimes works to save humanity from despair. Meanwhile, the Pakistan Army continued its violations of Indian territory. The government of India could not remain a silent spectator to Pakistani aggression and was reluctantly compelled to authorize the armed forces sector commanders to carry out limited crossings into Bangladesh at Boira, Hilli and Dhalai. At Boira, Pakistan attacked with a squadron of M24 Shafis and a battalion of infantry. 4 Pakistani tanks were destroyed and 9 captured. The Pakistanis suffered heavy casualties. The next day, on the 22nd of November, the Pakistan Air Force went into action at Boira. Three F-86 Sabre aircraft were shot down and 2 Pakistani pilots captured. Similarly, at Hilli, troops of 20 Mountain Division and at Dhalai, a brigade of 8 Mountain Division silenced enemy guns. At Akhora, a brigade of 57 Mountain Division boldly counterattacked Pakistani positions. The consequences of these operations were that Pakistan was thoroughly confused as to the intentions of the Indian Army. Without understanding this, General Yahya Khan said,
"We shall defend our territorial integrity with all the forces at our command."
Having created an unmanageable situation entirely through his own folly, General Yahya Khan was now about to pull the roof down on himself. Pakistani battle deployment was first observed in Poonch in August of 1971. By the 11th of October, reliable intelligence sources confirmed that Pakistani movements were designed for an offensive. The Indian armed forces were ordered to deploy themselves defensively. The aim was to deny Pakistan occupation any of our territory, to prevent the Chinese getting any access in the north, and to liberate Bangladesh and destroy Pakistani forces there. On the 3rd of December, Pakistan launched a surprise airstrike on Indian airfields in the Western Command area.
Pakistan launched a full-scale war against us. The Pakistan Air Force suddenly struck at our airfields in Amritsar, Pathankot, Srinagar, Avantipur, Uttarlai, Jodhpur, Ambala and Agra. Their ground forces are shelling our defense positions in Sulemanki, Khemkaran, Poonch and other sectors.
In Cham, in 15 Corps sector, Pakistan mounted their heaviest attack. They used 4 infantry and 1 armored brigade, supported by 8 artillery regiments. Our Jawans fought bravely and blunted the enemy offensive. Was reinforced with armor and infantry. The Indian Air Force provided excellent support in the Battle of Cham and helped the brigade in delaying the enemy for 72 hours. The Pakistani attack on the 8th and 9th of December on the eastern bank of the Munawwar Tawi was beaten back. Casualties on both sides were heavy. The second heaviest attack of the western sector was in Poonch, where a brigade of 25 Infantry Division was attacked. The attack was repulsed. The IAF, at the request of the army, provided splendid support and bombed the area of Kahuta by night. Having held off the enemy at Poonch, we attacked and captured some tactical features in the sector. All formations of 15 Corps mounted offensive operations with the troops they could lift from the defense. This was done to dominate the enemy throughout the Corps sector. Troops in Ladakh captured ground at altitudes of 5,000 meters under severe weather conditions, demonstrating once again the traditional determination of the Indian infantryman. Successful assaults in Kargil at a height of 4,500 meters were of strategic importance in securing the lines of communication to Leh. Troops of 26th Infantry Division captured the Chicken Neck area, securing Akhnur, and thus relieved our own troops defending it. Troops of 19 Infantry Division carried out successful operations in the Lipa Valley. In the western sector, at Hussainiwala, Pakistan attacked our border outposts. The attack was repulsed at some posts and counter-attacked at others to regain the lost posts. In the Fazilka area, we lost some territory, but in Dera Baba Nanak, we captured a Pakistani enclave and the Sejara Bulge. The more we gained, the greater the lies the Pakistan war machine told. It claimed to have put Amritsar airfield out of action, but the fact was otherwise. In retaliation to the Pakistani air attack on the 3rd of December, the IAF carried out attacks on Pakistani operational airfields at Chanderi, Sialkot, Sargoda, Murid, Mianwali, Pasrur, Risalpur, Jessore and Dhaka. On the 6th of December, the Attock oil refinery was set ablaze. Railway communications and marshalling yards were the particular targets of our Air Force and Navy. The Indian Navy achieved complete supremacy of the seas. The enemy's sea lines of communication from West Pakistan to Bangladesh were completely cut off. The Eastern Fleet, which included the aircraft carrier Vikrant, established a blockade of the maritime approaches to Bangladesh, and the Western Fleet dominated the Arabian Sea. On the 3rd of December, ships of the Eastern Fleet attacked the American-built submarine Ghazi and sank her. Aircraft from INS Vikrant attacked Chittagong and other harbors. Ships of the Western Fleet carried out daring raids on Karachi and sank a number of Pakistani warships just outside the harbor, which included the destroyer Khyber. Oil installations at Karachi were destroyed by a well-coordinated naval and aerial bombardment. A number of merchant ships, both enemy and neutral, proceeding to enemy ports, were intercepted and their cargo examined. The enemy ships were captured. While employed in hunting enemy submarines, the frigate Kukri was unfortunately lost. A gallant ship that went down with her captain. On the 4th of December, troops of the Eastern Command commenced attacks across the international border to liberate Bangladesh. In the 2 Corps sector, overcoming opposition on the borders, the troops advanced towards Jessore, Jhenida, and Darsana. In the 4 Corps sector, Shamsher Nagar was speedily captured along with the airfield. This was the first major success. By the 5th of December, the vital railway stations of Akhora and Lakshman in the Komila sector were captured. Similarly, in the 33 Corps sector, Thakurgaon and Phulbari were captured. Meanwhile, the Indian Air Force achieved air superiority in Bangladesh. On the first day, 10 Pakistani aircraft were destroyed, leaving a balance of 8. A total of 190 sorties were carried out. In fact, the PAF in Bangladesh was wiped out within 48 hours. By the 6th of December, the Prime Minister announced in Parliament to an excited House that India had recognized the government of Bangladesh. The first Bangladesh High Commissioner, Mr. Humayun Rashid Chaudhry, said,
Madam Prime Minister, you are not only the leader of the great people of India, you are a leader of the people of Bangladesh. Madam Prime Minister, you are not only a leader of the subcontinent, but you are the leader of mankind as such.
Troops of 33 Corps, having earlier fought a determined action at Hilli, advanced along with the Mukti Bahini to Ghoraghat and Bogra. On the 6th of December, the Pakistanis abandoned Jessore cantonment and its prepared defenses. And on the 7th of December, troops of 9 Mountain Division entered Jessore, the first major city to fall. After that, other centers, Jhenida, Magura, Gobindganj, began to fall to troops of 2 Corps, one after the other. On the 8th of December, the first message of the Chief of Army Staff, General Manekshaw, was broadcast asking the Pakistani army to surrender. He said, "Your condition is hopeless and you cannot get out." On the night of the 4th and the early hours of the 5th of December, enemy troops crossed the international border near Longewala. By daylight, they had reached near one of our posts. The tanks and the artillery subjected the post manned by rifle company to very heavy fire. By 7:30 in the morning, Hunter fighter bombers of Western Air Command went into action, and they created real chaos for the enemy. They destroyed 40 enemy tanks. Similarly, enemy transport columns moving from the border towards Longewala were interdicted by our aircraft. Longewala was reinforced under cover of close air support, and a counter-attack was launched. The same night, troops of 11 Indian Infantry Division launched a limited offensive towards Nayachor to draw out enemy reserves and pin them down. By the 5th of December, Relnor, Khokrapar, Gadra City, Khinsar, and Pirani Ki Par were captured. The old abandoned railway line was put into commission by the Indian Railways, a great feat which was of much logistic value. By the 13th of December, the Parvatali feature overlooking Nayachor was captured. The enemy reinforced this sector. By the time of the ceasefire, 2,800 square kilometers of Pakistani territory had been captured. Our line of communication from Pathankot to Jammu is within 12 kilometers of the international border. Opposite this, in the Zafarwal-Narawal area and on to Kasur, Pakistan had constructed heavy concrete fortifications and laid extensive minefields. The Pakistan 8th Division, comprising 4 brigades, with an armored brigade of 4 regiments, were defending this area. In addition, Pakistan had its 6 armored divisions, less an armored brigade, and some elements of 17 Pakistan Division in reserve for a counter-attack. When it was clear that Pakistan was not likely to do anything in Shakargarh, one Indian corps was launched into the attack on the night of the 5th, 6th of December. The following night, the eastern thrust went into action. By the 15th of December, delayed by heavy obstacles, the northern thrust reached the line of the river Basantar and the lateral road from Zafarwal to Shakargarh. The eastern thrust reached the line of the river Basantar bridge on the 12th of December. Our attempts to capture Shakargarh failed. By the 16th of December, a bridgehead had been established west of the river Basantar, threatening Zafarwal. By the time of the ceasefire, one Indian corps had advanced 11 kilometers all along its front, closely supported by the IAF, and captured 300 kilometers of densely populated and fertile area. By the 9th of December, initial objectives in Bangladesh had been captured and thrust lines were well established. Some prisoners and much of Pakistan's war material had fallen into our hands. Now the only question was, when would Dhaka fall? To achieve surprise and mobility, 57 Mountain Division crossed the Meghna in helicopters. It was an enormous task that these helicopters had to perform. Similarly, a battalion was lifted across the river Surma towards Sylhet. In the 2 Corps sector, 4 Mountain Division crossed the river Madhumati in country craft, improvised boats and PT-76 tanks. On the 12th of December, 9 packets and 24 Dakotas, operating from widely separated airfields, were carefully coordinated to rendezvous accurately at Tangail to airdrop a battalion of 50 parachute brigade. An amphibious operation was mounted on Cox's Bazar. A battalion of Gorkhas with 2 companies sailed from Calcutta and carried out an unopposed beach landing, achieving complete surprise. Aircraft of the IAF continued attacks on the Karachi docks, setting fire to oil storage dumps between the 7th and the 8th of December. On the 11th of December, the Chief of Army Staff called on Major General Rao Farman Ali to surrender and avoid further bloodshed. The message was relayed in English, Urdu and Pashto so that it could reach all ranks of the Pakistan Army. Earlier, Major General Rao Farman Ali had requested the UN Secretary General for help in repatriating soldiers and civilians to West Pakistan. This request had been countermanded by General Yahya Khan. Moreover, General A.A.K. Niazi, in an interview, said to newsmen, looking at the situation, Secretary General U Tant requested both the parties to allow all foreigners stranded in Dhaka to fly out. While the foreign nationals were flown out, all aerial activities were held back by the IAF. In an endeavor to sneak out merchant shipping from the naval blockade, Pakistani ships donned false colors. They were intercepted by the Indian Navy. One such ship was the so-called Adamant Manila, which in fact was Madhumati, a Pakistani merchant ship. Thus the naval blockade was completely effective. On the 13th of December, a third message from the Chief of Army Staff to General Rao Farman Ali was broadcast. The parachute troops dropped earlier by the IAF entered Dhaka, and by the end of the day, Dhaka was surrounded and invested. General Jamshed, GOC 36 Pakistan Division, and the Dhaka garrison surrendered to the Indian Army. On the 15th of December, Lieutenant General A.A.K. Niazi offered a ceasefire with conditions. The Chief of Army Staff summarily rejected the terms and demanded unconditional surrender, pledging full rights and privileges under the Geneva Convention. He said that the date would be the 16th of December 1971 and the time 900 hours. At 4 p.m. on the 16th of December 1971, Lieutenant General A.A.K. Niazi signed the instrument of surrender and placed himself and his troops under the command of Lieutenant General J.S. Arora, GOC in C, Eastern Command, who also held command of the Bangladesh forces. At Khulna, a brigade of the Pakistan Army, which had held out until the ceasefire, finally surrendered to Major General Dalbir Singh, GOC 9 Mountain Division. Thus, the Indian Armed Forces brought the dictators to their knees and the Bengalis to freedom. The next day at the United Nations, Sardar Swaran Singh announced a unilateral ceasefire.
We have repeatedly declared that India has no territorial ambition. Now as the Pakistani armed forces have surrendered in Bangladesh and Bangladesh is free, it is pointless in our view to continue the present conflict.
Mr. Bhutto tearfully announced, "Impose any decision you want, I shall not be a party to it." General Yahya Khan, as President of Pakistan, accepted the ceasefire. Congratulations from the Honorable Minister for Defense. Unstinted praise from the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. During and after the war, the wounded were visited by the Prime Minister and the service chiefs. Then the refugees started to go back. Now began the task of assisting the civil government to start functioning. The Indian Army happily accepted this responsibility too. They repaired bridges, roads and railway tracks. They set communication lines humming again. Postal services were restored. Gold and money dumped by the Pakistan Army in the sea was taken out by them to hand over to the government of Bangladesh. And to crown all this, the first train after the war steamed into Bangladesh. But that was not all. The father of the nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was not there. Farewell parade at Dhaka. The Indian Army, having done its good work, returned with all the love, affection and respect Bangladesh could offer. A new nation is born, Bangladesh, for which new chapters of heroism and bravery were written by the Indian Armed Forces.